Welcome back. We talk quite a bit about gun violence in this show here, but we had yet another tragedy, a shooting at a school in Nevada, and we're learning more details, Andrew. And again, we're talking about a 12-year-old gunman, and again, victims as well.
7th grader at a middle school, Rich. And as we reported last night, police in Sparks, Nevada continue to insist that the 9mm semi-automatic used by that 12-year-old gunman at his middle school came from his home. Still working to confirm both that fact and how the 7th grader got his hands on it, whether it had been locked up or if the student was given regular access to it. But if the gun is confirmed to have come from the home, the boy's parents could face criminal charges. Decision that's being left up to prosecutors. But similar scenarios continue to pop up related to safe and responsible gun storage or lack thereof. In Texas, a 19-year-old babysitter arrested and charged with abandoning or endangering a child after the 5-year-old she was watching grabbed her handgun from a coffee table. She left it there, then shot and killed himself as she slept. By the way, under Texas law, she can still own and carry a gun while the justice system plays out in her case. And if she goes to prison, she can own and carry a gun the moment she gets out. And it's not just the teenagers with flaming red hair having trouble securing their guns. Meet Renee Elmers of North Carolina. She's a fairly responsible person with a good job, Republican congresswoman from the Raleigh-Durham area. She supports gun rights for responsible gun owners, and she may not be one of them. An AR-15 assault rifle, same kind of gun used in Newtown, stolen from her garage. She was not home at the time, but the gun was not locked up. Says a spokesman for the Tea Party Republican, quote, her family is very big on gun safety, and she wants to get to the bottom of this herself. Rich?
How good of her. We had this conversation last night. I'm curious from your end, Joe. I would assume it would make the job easier for law enforcement if people had guns, that they secured their guns here. I don't think it's too much to ask. Either put it in a safe, put a trigger lock on it, get a smart gun, do something. But that's probably more of the gun-related responses you guys have to go to, more so than the OK Corral shootouts.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that as a police officer, you just, you can't wrap your head around it. Like, how do you leave a gun on a coffee table? How do you leave it in a garage or wherever it may be? And, these are the guns that are out there that are shooting cops, too, and robbing banks and doing all these things. So as a police officer, you're very concerned about the lack of oversight that some gun owners apparently have. I'm not saying all gun owners, but apparently when you're telling me you're leaving it in a garage or on a coffee table, that's not secured.
Bernard, we talk about, I don't want to relive the debates we've gone over so long, but there's this misnomer out there that, well, the public's divided on this. The NRA's all members, 75% of them, they want background checks. And beyond background checks, and I've seen some numbers put out there, you might know better than me, the idea of responsible gun ownership. Let's say you're allowed to bear arms, okay? And forget even the kind of guns you can buy. But if you buy a gun, you should be criminally, let alone civilly, responsible for what happens to that gun. And if you're going to carry it on your person, you're responsible to it. If you're going to leave it at home, you're responsible for what happens to it. I bet you maybe the NRA may like it, but there'd be a plurality of Americans who'd sign up for that.
I absolutely agree, and this really terrible tragedy underscores the scourge of gun violence and gun proliferation in America. There was a study a few years back that showed that something like 43% of households with children with a gun in their home, had that gun unlocked at some point and not properly secured. I mean, that's extraordinary. And if you look at people who claim, I want a gun in my house to protect myself, people with a gun in their home are almost twice as likely to die in a homicide, significantly more likely to be assaulted with one, to have a suicide attempt occur, to be assaulted. And it really shows that adding more guns into the pipeline is certainly not the answer. And the vast majority of gun owners would agree that better protections are in fact appropriate.
I keep thinking about the case, the Nevada shooting, the middle school shooting. It's possible. I mean, Nevada, and I lived out west for a little bit, the kid might have had access to the gun safe. The kid might have known the combination. It's part of somewhat part of the culture there. And I still think the parents should be prosecuted, even if the gun was in a gun safe, locked away, and the kid just knew how to get it. I mean, to me, that's still, gun ends up in somebody else's hands and it's used in a crime.
But you know what, Dominic? Mayor Bloomberg ain't going to sell this. The people, if they want to really convince and change minds, they need guys like Joe or law enforcement to come out and say it, because they're not going to call them a bleeding heart. And they need parents who lost kids when they went for a play date to somebody's house and got killed in a gun there. Or somebody who died on a stoop in a household because the next door neighbor decided to shoot the gun that was under the mom or dad's bed. That's the only way you're going to change minds with this. Use Bloomberg's money, but he can't be the face of this.
Well, I think they've already learned if a northern city mayor liberal mayor, no matter what his party affiliation is, if he or she is the face of it, it's doomed for failure to begin with. But frankly, if we're being honest, I don't even know if we have law enforcement officials, if it's going to change that mentality. The same way that you feel, they feel exactly the opposite
But
way.
I think it's a much smaller number. We're not talking about the right to bear arms. What we're talking about is something smaller than that, is to bear arms responsibly. They always talk about responsible gun owners. Well, let's put some teeth to it. You know, you ever want to stop kids from partying in there? You hold the parents liable here if the kid gets drunk at the
Couldn't
house.
agree more.
All of a sudden,
Couldn't
magically,
agree
nobody
more.
gets banged
That's
up at the
right. Couldn't
houses
agree
on
more.
Friday nights, right? Okay, when we come back here, we're going to have one more segment of RFL here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.